Well. What's up, Raptors Brothers and Sisters? Sip checking in, and how are we all feeling about today's game against the Charlotte Hornets? Me personally, I feel kind of mixed about it because on one side, I know we're in a rebuilding year, so that means we're going to be accepting both the wins and losses as equally. But on the other side, when we have a situation like today where it seemed that the Charlotte Hornets were taking advantage of the game early, but somehow as the game continued, they did some turnovers and other things to help the Raptors get back into the game, so much so that the Raptors were able to take the lead. And even with that, at the end of the day, we let the game just slip away from us. To me, that's really mind-boggling because if I was placed in their situation, I wouldn't have let the Charlotte Hornets come back into this game, especially since the Raptors did so much to cut at the lead and get the lead in the first place. So that really is surprising to me that we did that. But regardless, unfortunately the Raptors fell short to the Charlotte Hornets today. And since this is a loss, let's break down everything that the Raptors did and all the improvements that need to be made going forward. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, before I talk about the Raptors and everything related to them coming out of this game, let's give credit to the winning team of this game, which is the Charlotte Hornets. And basically, they played exactly like how any NBA team in this modern society would play. They slashed to the rim, they shot a lot of threes, and they grabbed offensive and defensive rebounds. And in the Charlotte Hornets case tonight, these three elements worked in a perfect harmony. It was getting so good to the point where by the end of the first quarter, they were already up 20 points on us. And this was mainly due to the amount of threes that they were shooting and making. So congrats to them for making the timely passes and taking advantage of all the Raptors mistakes that we made, especially in the later stages of this game, to ultimately pull away and get the win. Now, on the flip side for the Raptors, shout out to the Raptors for bringing their intensity in the second, third, and fourth quarters. And ironically, this all started when Grady Dick started to get into his zone. This is because I feel that for the Raptors this season, they only need one player to really start getting into the zone or getting into their comfortable space in order for the rest of the team to be like, hey, one of our teammates can do it, why can't I? And in today's case, that would be Grady Dick, because if you watched him both in the game and from highlights, more specifically how he presented himself on the court, you can really tell that Grady Dick really didn't want to lose this game. Because to him, it seemed like regardless of whether the Charlotte Hornets was a playoff contending team or if they were just a normal team, either way the Raptors and Grady Dick are going to come into this game with this hunger mentality to win, or at the very least try to win. And that is something that they did for majority of the game. Of course, the first quarter was a little shaky, and I believe that is the thing that cost them the game. But this experience is very beneficial going forward because it could be used as a learning experience as well as a reminder to them that to never leave any quarters on the table, as the opponent might come and use it against you to ultimately win the game. So kudos to the Raptors today for showing that resiliency and making this really hard fought game, and hopefully they continue to bring the same intensity into the future games as well. One more thing before I talk about the Raptors improvements coming out of this game. We got an update regarding Scottie Barnes' injury. As you may or may not know, Scottie Barnes left the game on Monday against the Denver Nuggets with an injury to his eye. Initially, it was a jab to the eye by Nikola Jokic, which caused him to not return. But as we learned today, it actually is much serious than we thought, because he got a right orbital fracture, which is basically the bone that is right in front of the eye. That thing cracked. So he's out at least 3 weeks, where after that point he's going to be re-evaluated, and he might be out longer than that. Basically, prayers up to him and I hope he has a speedy recovery and will be able to join the team really soon. Of course, Scotty Barnes, if you're watching this, make sure you heal your eye as much as possible, because having a eye injury not only affects you both in your basketball years but also in your life years as well. So having that fixed is priority number one. So hopefully you make a speedy recovery very soon. The first improvement that I would like the Raptors to make coming out of this game is I would like the Raptors to do a much better job in their free throw shooting. This is because, especially in the later stages of the game, the free throw shooting plays a big factor on how the rest of the possessions are played out. Because when a player misses their free throws, their motivation or their energy just, for some reason, just depletes to the point where, not that they're not coming back and doing the stuff needed, but they're a bit slow than expected. And that was the case for the Raptors today, because as we continued to miss free throws, especially in the later stages of this game, when we went back on the defensive end, we were a step slow in closing out threes, in grabbing rebounds, and Charlotte was able to take advantage of this and get easy fouls against us, which of course they made their free throws, so their confidence got expedited as they continued to make free throws, and ultimately they ran away with the game. So I say this to say that if we knock down our free throws, especially going into the later stages of the game, not only will it boost our confidence and help us win the game, but also by doing so, our other opportunities, whether that be a three, whether that be dunks, whether that be layups, or whatever we have at our disposal, it'll be all opened up and can be exploited, because the opponent will most likely sag off on us because they do not want us to get fouls again. So this could cause them to give us easy lanes to the basket and whatnot, and we could definitely take advantage of those. And I really hope that the Raptors assistant coaches and team does free throw shooting practices or anything of that nature during practice, so that these types of situations does not happen in the games to come. Of course, the season is early, but still, I hope that this change is made. Second improvement that I would like to see the Raptors coming out of this game is limit the amount of turnovers that they had. I know, this sounds very repetitive at this point, but it's the honest truth. In fact, let me tell you something. In today's game, right, especially in the first quarter, the Raptors were making so many turnovers to the point where the analytics team from this game, they pulled up a stat to show what place the Raptors were in terms of turnovers this season. And guess what place they were? They were 30th. 30th! That means they're last in the NBA. That is unacceptable, because that just means that we're giving up so many turnovers to the other team, and they're using all this to just score on us. Now I understand that the Raptors are a young team, and because of that we're going to be shooting a lot of threes and we're going to attack in the whole 9 yards. But with that being said, to give up that many threes to an opponent, it just tells them that one, we're not really serious about winning, but two, we're just going there to do our repetitions and leave, which is definitely not the case, because as we know from all the media day that we've seen up to now, as well as the different post-game interviews and the games we've seen up to now, the Raptors are coming to win, or at the very least attempting to win. So I really hope that some practice scheme is developed for limited amount of turnovers, because this really could become a big problem when the team is fully formed together, because I feel that if this isn't corrected in the early stages, it could be the reason why we cannot win a championship or compete for the ultimate goal, which is to win the championship. So hopefully this turnover situation is fixed as soon as possible, because the sooner it's fixed in this infancy stage, the better we are off as the season continues and into the future as well. Final improvement that I would like to see the Toronto Raptors do coming out of this game is improve our rebounding, because as you probably know from this game, either watching the game or watching the highlights, more specifically for Charlotte, all of their possessions, whether that be a dunk or a three, it all started with the rebounding. And unfortunately for the Raptors, we were a bit slow to that. Of course, that being said, we picked it up in second and third quarter, but that was only to cut the deficit that was already in place, being a 20-point deficit. And by the time we made it into a respectable game, having a lead of like 2 to 5 points, by that point all of our players were gassed, or basically tired. And once again, after that point, the Charlotte Hornets took advantage of the rebounding again and caused themselves to get into the bonus situation where they just ran away with the game. So I say this all to say that if we have improvements in our rebounding, not only will it give us confidence to start our fast break and gives us more time to analyze the situation and make the most appropriate decision, but also it could give us motivation to continue to go strong throughout the 48 minutes of this game, and ultimately it will allow one of our players to get into their zone more quickly and the rest of the team can just ride off that momentum. So hopefully some drills to improve our rebounding are done in the future, so that no matter who we're facing, we'll be able to at least leverage our rebounding to give us a fighting chance in this game. So hopefully that is something that the Raptors do in practices going forward in the future of the season. So yeah, overall I think this loss against the Charlotte Hornets, just like any loss that we faced up to this point, is great learning experience for the Toronto Raptors. And as I said before in my improvements, in terms of the free throw shooting as well as the limitations of turnovers, I think those two things can be fixed relatively easily. With this team, it just comes down to how much the players want to improve on them, because I believe that if they really lock into those factors and make a genuine attempt to fix them on a day-to-day basis and make it so that going into the future games this doesn't become a big problem, the sky's the limit on where we could go, even with a injured roster due to the injury bug and all the other factors that are going against us this season. So yeah, we'll just need to see what type of changes they do going into the game against the Lakers this Friday, and we'll need to see what type of improvements they make going into the future games as well. So with that being said, if you like these types of videos, make sure to give me one of these, smash that subscribe button and hit that like button as well to get caught up with all my current videos and future videos that I'm going to be talking about the Raptors and the NBA and everything else this season and going forward. And until next time, Sif signing out.